That is what would happen. Okay, and now looking at Coral Islands, which is a new game coming from Alley Cat Games, and I'm here with Caesar from Alley Cat Games. Can you tell us about this game?
Sure. Hi, Michael. Coral Islands is a dice stacking game, and essentially every player is playing as a coral scientist, trying to repopulate damaged coral. And essentially, well, you can't see it. I'm not sure if you've got it on camera, but each player takes the role of one colour for the dice. So this player would obviously be the orange dice, and essentially you're trying to score two ways. Mid-game scoring is based on three-dimensional shapes, like that. So that's an early prototype of the cards. So that shape would score you 3 points, and this shape would score you 10 points, for instance, obviously because it's more difficult. That would be your own colour dice. But the easier ones have wild dice on them. So, for instance, this one is...
So that's a wild, the dark one.
That's a wild one, yeah, that's right. Anyway, so players will, at the beginning of a game, roll 2 dice. They'll place them on their player cards. So 3, re-roll 3 to 2. There are sections for different dice for what they do and how you do the dice stacking. So 1 and 2, you can put them straight away on the seabed. 3 and 4 will have to go on a diver, which isn't here. They can also manipulate the dice up and down by 1, and 5 and 6, you'll have to re-roll one of your other dice because obviously they're quite powerful. Why are they powerful? It's because when you look on the seabed, you have to then put your own dice on either your own or other people's dice that is lower in value than yours. So if you had a dice of value 3, die of value 3, it would have to go on something of value 1 or 2. It could not go on a 3, 4, 5 or 6.
Whereas if you've got a 6, you can go on anything but a 6.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why the 5 and 6 you have to re-roll your previous dice, because obviously it changes.
So that's only once that you have to re-roll, though, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So if I have a 5 on my player board, you would always have 2 on your player board. I wanted to take my 5, I put it in the diver's backpack. That's a sequence, but then I'd have to re-roll my 3 because that's already my player board. So that sort of scuppers my sort of forward planning. The diver, which isn't shown here, he or she would have a sequence of 1, 2 or 3 slots, and whoever has a die on the 3rd slot launches the diver, and then people in player order would put their dice on. So obviously I told you about the dice stacking in terms of numbers, but there's also a maximum height. So as soon as you've reached the maximum height, which in 2 and 3 players is 3, you sort of bank it and it's yours. And that's the second form of scoring, which is not mid-game, which is you tally up what's on the top level. You literally take the tower away and then you tally them up, and then you halve it. That's your score. There are ways to mitigate low values, so we also have these algae cards which allow you to change the values.
Okay, so that's good because it then allows to mitigate just being unlucky with your dice rolls.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and when are you looking at this coming out?
We're hoping September, October for Kickstarter, so it would be probably early Q2 next year for picking it up.
Okay, and am I right that this is actually going to be 2 games in the box?
That's right. So we actually signed up a dice stacking previous to this game, Coral, which was originally called Renewal. But then we thought, because it had exactly the same components as this one, we just thought, well, why don't we just bung the 2 together? That one is a little bit more strategic, and we'll release details of that as we get the artwork for it.
Okay, that's great. Thanks a lot, Caesar.